everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittany. This is the Brittany Reacts Show. And on this show we talk movies, and today we are actually specifically just talking about the summer movies. So movies that come out pretty much from May until August. That's what I'm counting as the summer movie season. So I'm counting just the top 10, so not every movie. This stream would be like 3 hours. I just did what I think is going to be my, or not my, but the top 10 movies of the box office for the summer season. So I'm going to show you, A, what the top 10 biggest movies are coming out are, and then B, I'm going to tell you what I think they're going to do at the box office. I actually have like a number amount on each one, and I'm going to order them from 10 to 1, from 10 being the one I think is going to make the least, to 1 being the one I think is going to rule the summer. So that's how we're going to do this. I have a whole slideshow from 10 to 1 that we're going to go through. We're also going to talk about each of the movies and just about my level of excitement for each of them. I am going to review these movies as well, so make sure you subscribe to never miss a review. I do want to say hi to you guys. Hi Will French, hi Natanya, hi Josh, hi Mythical Phoenix, hi Madonna, hi Jessica, hi Jocelyn, hi Gabriel, hi Concert Master, hi Nate, hi Black Star, hi Arvin. Thank you to each and every one of you. I love that you come to my show and you watch everything. It really makes me very happy, and trust me, I appreciate it. Because without you guys, I would have no one to talk to. So, yeah, I definitely want to say just thank you guys for actually coming to my shows and being a part of it and participating and commenting in the chat and everything. So, just thank you. Are you guys excited for the summer movie season? As I was going through the list and making my whole slideshow and everything, I was like, you know what? I actually think this is a pretty good summer movie slate. Compared to last year, I think this year is going to be a lot better. If you guys remember, we talked about this a lot. Last year's movie slate was full of bombs. Like, it was called the summer of the flopbuster, if you guys remember, because we had a ton of box office flops last year, like The Flash, some Marvel ones. Just not a lot of good movies that really did very well last year. So compared to last year, I think this year's a lot better. Now, I don't think, as you guys will see, I don't think that there will be like 1 or 2 major box office hits that everyone sees and then the rest kind of do nothing, kind of like what happened last year where everyone saw Barbie and Oppenheimer and then everything else flopped pretty much. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think this year we're going to see more movies do well. They just won't do as well as what Barbie and Oppenheimer did. I think we're going to see a lot of movies do just kind of okay, but well enough to technically not be a flop and make money. So that's good. That's at least progress compared to last year. But I do see a lot of these movies making in the sort of okay to decent range, which is still, I think, in a positive direction for the industry. So which movies are you guys most looking forward to from this summer? I just want to hear you guys' thoughts before we get into the actual slate. Okay, Cheetah Viper, you think Mad Max will be number 1? You think Mad Max would be the highest grossing movie of the summer? I mean, I guess, spoiler alert, I do have Mad Max here on my list, but I don't know if it's number 1. I'll tell you guys which one it is, though. Taylor Swift Lover says, I'm excited for Inside Out 2 and Deadpool and Wolverine. Well, it seems like your favorite, Taylor Swift, is going to be in at least one of those, so that's good. Hi, Maria. I'm glad that you're here. Prancer is fine. Or is that Maya? Hi, Maya. Prototype says, will movie studios try to replicate the Barbenheimer phenomenon? I feel like they're already trying to with doing both with doing both Moana and Wicked on the same weekend. I feel like that is them trying to replicate the Barbenheimer thing, because they're both so similar, they're both huge movies. I feel like they're trying to replicate something with that. Okay, Josh is looking forward to Deadpool and Inside Out 2. I actually think Disney might have a decent summer, so I agree with you guys. Compared to last year, it's going to be a lot better. You guys remember also they had that big flop at Lucasfilm with Indiana Jones? Yeah, last year was not good. Taylor Swift Lover, Joker 2 has a chance to be good or a complete flop. I don't think Joker 2 is going to be a flop. Joker 2 is not on my list here because it's not a summer movie. It's going to come out in the fall, I believe. But I do think Joker 2 is going to be a hit. So, Nagisa says your family is looking forward to Spy X, Spy X Family. I didn't know what that is. I've never heard of that one. And you're looking forward to Deadpool and Sonic 3. Oh yeah, Sonic 3. Sonic 3 is also not on here because that's later on, but I'm looking forward to these movies as well. All right, so let's get into it. Like I said, I'm not this list isn't my personal list of like my most anticipated. This is a list of movies of how I'm predicting these movies are going to perform from least best to the best of the summer. So that's how I'm ordering this list. And so let's get into it. The first one, or at least at number 10, I actually think is The Fall Guy. If you guys, I did talk about The Fall Guy recently. It stars Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling. It's a action comedy romance. I think the trailer looks really good. I think Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling are both coming off really big movies, obviously Barbie and Oppenheimer. It's kind of a mini Barbenheimer effect just having these two together. I think they're kind of at the top of their careers right now. I think there's a little bit of buzz about this movie, so I'm actually thinking this movie might be a moderate hit. I don't think it's going to be like, obviously not a $500 million blockbuster as I've shown you here. I think it could make in around the $200 million range, which for a blockbuster in this day and age would actually be really good. So I'm predicting it'll be decent, and I predict it'll do like just well enough that it'll probably make some money back. Now, unfortunately, the budget for this movie is $125 million, which means, oh, you guys can't see it. Well, it says $125 million, which means it has to make a lot in order to just break even. I don't even know if $200 million is enough to break even with a budget that big, but I'm still crossing my fingers that it's going to do well because I like these actors involved. But I don't think, because the biggest success they both have are, of course, Barbenheimer, and that's pretty much it. I don't think it's going to do like gangbusters well, just well enough that it'll do like maybe 200 million. That's why I put it at number 10. Do you guys think this is like too big? Do you think this is too much, too little? How do you guys think The Fall Guy is going to do? And are you guys excited for this movie yourself? Okay, Spy X Family is an anime. Thank you, Natanya. Josh Loves Movie says The Fall Guy looks like it's going to be a blast. Oh, I see what you did there, Josh. Prototype says, I still have not watched Bullet Train. Bullet Train is pretty good. I will have polls, Natanya, but not for this one, just because this is not one of the bigger ones. But I will have polls. Nagisa, no, it's not based off of a video game. This is based off of Ryan Gosling playing a stunt double in a movie, and Emily Blunt plays the director, and they fall in love with each other. That's what this movie's about. Okay, Cheetah Viper's not interested. I'm very curious to see how this does. Honestly, the only reason why I think it even makes the top 10 is because we have Emily Blunt and Ryan Gosling. If it were anyone else in these roles, I don't think it would do as well. So I think this one is actually going to live by star power. And the fact that it's directed by the same guy that did Bullet Train makes me think this is going to be really good because I liked Bullet Train. So yeah, I have a lot of hopes for this movie. Alright, moving on to number 9. So, A Quiet Place Day 1, which I think should make or could make between $250 to $350 million. I'm very optimistic about this movie too. The last Quiet Place movie actually did very well. It made $297.4 million. Oh, you guys can't see it? No! Okay, well I can see it. It made $274 million, so it made the last Quiet Place movie made within this range. The reason why I think it could do even better is just because I think the last movie was well received. I really like Lupita Nyong'o, and it has the guy from Stranger Things in it as well, so I think the people in it might help raise the profile a bit. I still don't think it's going to make much more than the last one, which is why I still have it at number 9, but I still think there's enough excitement and interest in this franchise that I could see this doing okay. I think $250 million for A Quiet Place Day 1 would be a really good number for this kind of film. Do you guys think this is the right number? Do you think this is too low or too much? What do you guys think? Josh says, I think A Quiet Place Day 1 could overperform at the box office like the last two movies. Well, I hope you're right. At $350 million, if this movie made $350 million, that would be an overperformance for this movie. So I really hope that it does, because I like the people involved. I like this franchise. So again, I'm crossing my fingers for this one. You know what I'm going to do? at the end of the summer movie season, I'm actually going to go through this again, and we're going to kind of see if I was right or not. I'm going to see how much I was wrong, how much I got right. I think it's going to be really fun to compare this list to the actual list at the end of the summer just to see how well these movies do. But I'm glad, Josh, that you're looking forward to it and you think this could overperform. Oh no, you've never seen A Quiet Place, Cheetah Viper? You've got to see these movies. They're pretty good. Okay, Mythical Phoenix is also not interested in A Quiet Place. Interesting. I just like the world building. Just like Danny said, I think the world building is interesting. I like the fact that you have to be quiet. Watching the first Quiet Place movie in the theater was an experience because my entire theater was just dead silent the entire movie. It made it hard to just eat some popcorn because it felt like every sound was just even more noisy because the movie was so quiet. I'll never forget the experience watching the first movie in theater. It was quite something. Alright, so number 8. So I think Bad Boys for Life could actually do pretty decently. Now, I don't think it's going to do as well as the last Bad Boys movie because Will Smith's career is kind of taken a hit since then because of the Oscars fiasco. But I do think the last movie was well received enough, and I really liked the last movie. I don't even care about this franchise overall, but I just thought the last movie was a lot of fun and I really enjoyed it. So I think the fact that this movie or this franchise still has a lot of goodwill, let's see what I did there. And because I just think that the trailer itself looked really good, I still think it has a chance to do decently. So I think this could do between $300 to $400 million. Now, if you guys remember, the Bad Boys 3, you guys can't see this, but Bad Boys 3 actually made $426.5 million. So it actually made quite a lot of money. It made almost $450 million worldwide. So the fact that I still think this movie could at least do 400 means that I have a lot of faith in this movie. Now, again, like I said, because of the whole Will Smith fiasco and just there's a lot of movies coming out this summer, whereas I think when the last Bad Boys movie came out, they enjoyed not having a lot of competition. This time they will have a lot of competition, so I think it's going to do slightly less, but maybe enough to do decently. Enough that Will Smith can hang his head high and know that maybe he's not total box office poison right now, because that's what this movie is testing. This movie is testing to see if people will actually see a Will Smith movie after the Oscars fiasco. So he needs this movie to do well. Do you guys think this will make more or less? Do you think this is too much? Please let me know. Okay, Danny is saying no, so you think this is too much. Interesting. Caledonia says Gabrielle had issues, so they replaced her character. Oh, I didn't know that. Interesting. Yeah, Cheetah Viper, I think the Will and Jada drama is honestly why I think this movie is going to make less than the last one. Just because I think that Will Smith has hurt his brand a lot, and I think there's just a portion of the audience that is not going to want to see him in anything anymore. But I still think the franchise has enough goodwill that I still think it could make at least $300 million. Maybe. Hidden Name thinks this is right on. Okay. Prototype is not interested in this franchise. CD Woods think this will flop, so you think this is too much. Interesting. Okay. Miss Olsen also thinks it'll flop. Alright, so I'm seeing most of you guys think this will just flop. I think you guys are just anti-Will Smith. Is that true? Is that my chat? Are you guys just kind of very anti-Will Smith? Okay, Natanya agrees with me. Interesting. Well, we'll see. Like I said, at the end of summer, I'm going to compare everything. I'm very curious. It seems like the majority of you are not interested in this movie, don't care for Will Smith. So, not very good, not very promising. But I'm still looking forward to it, and I think it could make at least $300 million. I think $300 million is like a decent number. Not terrible, not great. It's still a lot less than the last one, but enough to, like, Will Smith could at least have his head held high. Like, at least that much. I know, so many Will puns, and I'm not even trying, Natanya. I'm really not. I know, the chat is very anti-Will Smith. You guys are very interesting to me. Danny, really? I'm scared he'll slap me through the screen? Really? Really, Danny? You're so scared he's going to slap you through the screen. Okay. Like I said, this is why I think this one's going to make less than the last one, because I think Will Smith's reputation is really taking a hit, and you guys are proving it. CD Wood says, I don't hate Will Smith, but I feel like this franchise isn't big enough to make money. Well, the last one did. Like I said, that's why I have it here. The last one made almost $450 million, so it can make money. It can. but I just don't think it's going to get there this time. Anyway, moving on to number 7. So at number 7, I have Furiosa. I think Furiosa could do pretty decently. Again, I think the last Mad Max movie was a lot of people's favorite movie of the year, even got some Oscar nominations and some wins. The last Mad Max movie, a lot of people really loved, so it has a lot of goodwill going into it. I'm not sure if this one will make as much as the last one, just because it's not actually starring Mad Max, it's starring Furiosa, and it's not even the same Furiosa as the last movie. But I think the trailer looks so good. It looks at least as good as the last Mad Max film, at least to me. Even though it does look a little bit more digital, that's really my only hesitation. I still think this movie could do well enough that I could see it doing between 350 to 400 million, which is exactly the same range, by the way, that the last Mad Max movie did, so I'm basically saying I think it's going to make about the same, which, if you include inflation, means that I think it's going to make slightly less, because I'm not including the inflation. But I still think 350 million for Mad Max is, like, I think pretty square on for what I think this movie could do worldwide. Just because, like I said, a lot of people like the last movie, the trailer looks good, so I'm thinking 350 million at minimum. What do you guys think? Are you guys actually interested in this Mad Max movie? Do you think this is going to be a hit or a flop? Okay, Mythical Phoenix, you haven't watched these movies either, that's fine. That's why I'm not saying it's going to make like 500 million or something like that. I know these movies are still niche, but I know that there's at least some sort of audience for them. Maya says, love Anya Taylor-Joy and I'll be watching. Okay, I do like Anya Taylor-Joy a lot. I think she was really good in The Menu. I think that's probably one of my favorite things that I've seen her in. She's really good on screen, so if anyone was going to take over the role of young Furiosa, I'm glad they went with Anya Taylor-Joy. Caldonia says, this will flop. Okay, they ruined everything magical about the last one with the CGI. You know what? I kind of agree with you, Caldonia. Everything about this movie that I've seen from the trailer just looks a lot more digital. And I don't know if that's going to ruin the appeal of it, because I think what the appeal of the original Mad Max was, and when I say original, I'm talking about the 2015 one, because this is the one that this movie is based off of. Based on that movie, a lot of people really liked that film because it was real. They actually were in the desert. All of those stunts were real. They did everything as practical as they could. And you could just tell that on screen because everything just felt very real and gritty. This time, this movie doesn't feel as real and gritty. It does look like they used CGI a lot more. They used a lot more blue screen and green screen. So I do wonder if that's going to hurt the overall appeal of this movie, or if people are just going to look past that. I'm not sure. What do you guys think? Do you think this movie looks just too digital? Do you think that's going to hurt your excitement for this movie, or do you not care? Okay, Taylor Swift lover says you don't care. Alright. Miss Olsen, 50-50. Okay, the CGI doesn't look good. Yeah, the CGI is a problem. Danny says you're waiting for streaming. You guys always wait for streaming for everything. Oh my goodness. Jocelyn says, I will probably go see it, but I'm disappointed how CGI heavy it looks. Yeah, same. I think we're all kind of on the same boat, that we're still at least looking forward to this movie, but we all wish that it looked a lot better, at least when it comes to the visual effects. CD Woods hasn't seen it. Okay. Maya says James Cameron's latest Avatar had good graphics, though, and the movie was horrible. Oh, I wouldn't say it was horrible, Maya. I liked Avatar 2. Now, I will say I'm in the minority in that I actually liked Avatar 1 more than Avatar 2, just because I liked the story more. But I thought Avatar 2 was still pretty good. And the visual effects were amazing because he gave them like 10 years to work on them, so they had to be amazing. Prototype says, depends on how visual effects is used. I love visual effects in Dune. You know what? I wish this looked more like Dune. I think Dune even looked more real than how this movie looks based on the trailer, not gonna lie. Nerve says, the last one actually did have a lot of CGI, but it was mostly background dressing and subtle enhancement of the real action. That's true, but this one doesn't look like that. This one looks like it's more CGI first, and then the real stuff is to make it enhanced, whereas the last Mad Max movie was like mostly real and the CGI stuff was just there to enhance. I think they switched it this time. But anyway, I still think this movie could do decently. That's why I have it at number 7. It still made the top 10 for the summer. I think I'm probably more optimistic on this movie than most, especially if it makes 400 million. That would be incredible. But 350 I think is achievable, so that's why I put it at number 7. Alright, so the next movie I have is actually a movie that I am very bullish on, and that's Borderlands. Now, this is a wild card choice. Now, I fully accept that I could be totally wrong. I just wildly guessed when it came to this movie because I don't know, I haven't played this game, but this is what I do know. I do know that this movie actually, not movie, the game sold 77 million copies, or has sold 77 million copies so far. So it's highly successful. A lot of people have played this game. I'm new to gaming, and even I have heard of Borderlands, so I've heard of the game. I know of it. It has sold a lot of copies. So I think this property is popular enough. And I think the trailer also got a lot of buzz and a lot of people talking. That I think this movie could be a surprise hit of the summer. That's what I'm being very bullish about this movie, just because I think comic book movies are the next big genre that's going to take over now that comic book films are kind of on the decline. Did I say comic book movies? I think video game movies are going to replace comic book movies. That's what I'm trying to say. And I think the popularity of these video game movies are still at an all-time high because we haven't been like basically overwhelmed with them just yet. There haven't been like 1,000,001 video game movies like there's been 1,000,001 comic book movies, so I still think there's a lot of novice excitement about this genre, so I think that's also going to help this film. And because I think this game is very popular, I think it could do well enough to make around 400 million worldwide, especially abroad. This is one film where I actually think it could do better abroad than it does here in the US, just because a lot of video games are very popular worldwide, not just here in the US. Particularly in Asia. So I could see this movie being the kind of film that does super well in like Korea, Japan, and China, even if it just does okay here in the US. That's why I'm very bullish about it. What do you guys think about this? Do you think I have this number way too high? Or do you guys think that this movie actually has a chance to be a hit like I do? What do you guys think? Okay, Madonna says nah. I could be totally wrong. I would say out of all of the films that I put on my list today, this one was the most one that I just felt like was a shot in the dark, so I have no idea. But I just have a hunch that maybe it could do okay. I mean, it's got Kevin Hart in it, it's got Cate Blanchett, it's got actually some big names in this movie, so I feel like, I don't know, I feel like it could do decently. Jocelyn says, I hope this movie is faithful to the game. They are so iconic, especially the art style. Exactly. If even I have heard of the game, then I know it's a big deal. Because I don't know every game, I don't play every game. So if I've heard of the franchise, if I've heard of the game, then I know that it's a big deal. Nagisa says, video games and anime are like more of my generation, aka Gen Z. True, but I think it's becoming more of a mainstream thing here in the US, not just with like Gen Z. I think a lot of millennials and even Gen X are getting into this stuff now too. Like, video gamers are not just kids. Like, people well into their 40s and 50s even still play video games, so I don't think it's just like a youth thing anymore, to be honest. Okay, Jarcia says this is going to be a flop. Alright. Kevin has no hits outside of his movies with The Rock. Is that true? Does Kevin Hart have no hits outside of his movies with The Rock? I'm trying to think. Is that true? Maybe it is. Because the first Kevin Hart movie I thought of was Jumanji, but that has The Rock in it. Maybe it is. I don't know. Honestly, like I said, I could be totally wrong about this one. This one is a total shot in the dark, but I just know the game is very popular, so here is my guess. Hycium says 50-50 chance of making decent profit or breaking even. Okay, 50-50 chance is about where I'm at. It's either going to make a lot of money, about $400 million, or it's going to be a total flop. Either one, I have no idea. I just erred on the side of I think it might be a hit, so we'll see. Anyone has played this game? Anyone know how popular it is personally? Mythical Phoenix says, I know based on the game, but I don't like Kevin Hart and I will wait. Interesting. So Kevin Hart is who is keeping you away from this? Man, Kevin's got to do a lot to change his image around. I really think his career's been hurt ever since the whole Oscars controversy. He has his own Oscars controversy. I really think his career's never been the same after that. Miss Olsen also thinks flop. Okay. Well, I could be totally wrong about this one. Like I said, I have no idea. So let's move on then. So number 5, I have the Planet of the Apes movie, the new one that's actually made by Disney, as they've now bought Fox, so they own this property too, because Disney owns everything. The last Planet of the Apes movie, War for the Planet of the Apes, actually did very, very well. It made, how much did it make? I think I have this up. Yes, it made $490.7 million. So it made almost $500 million, which is pretty impressive for a franchise that's been going on for a long, long time. Like, these Planet of the Apes movies have been coming out for decades, and they're still getting a lot of money, getting a lot of people to come see them. And I know a lot of you guys have been really excited about this film. You've been talking about the trailer. You've been wanting me to talk about it more. So I know there's excitement for this film, which is why I think it could do between $450 to $500 million, which is about how much the last War for the Planet of the Apes film did. So I'm basically saying I think it's going to make about exactly what the last film did. I think the trailer actually looks very promising. As someone who, I was never really into the Planet of the Apes movies, even though I like them. They're just not like one of my go-to franchises that I'm like, oh yeah, Planet of the Apes film, even though I tend to like them when I do see them. So for me, that trailer really convinced me that I actually do need to see it, because that trailer was so good, and I am going to be reviewing it for my channel, so again, make sure you subscribe for that. So because I think the trailer is so good, because I think the last one actually did quite well at the box office, I still think this one could do well. So I'm thinking between $450 to $500 million is pretty accurate for this film. That's what I'm predicting that this movie is going to do. Are you guys going to see Planet of the Apes? Are you done with this franchise? Do you think that Disney's just dragging it out? Do you think this is going to do well? Do you think I predicted this really well, or do you think this is too high or too low? Please tell me in the chat. Prototype says, I do not trust Disney. Yeah, that's the one thing, is that Disney is the one making this. Although, I will say, as we'll get to later on in the list, Disney I still think is going to do really well this summer. So even if this one doesn't do too well, they have some other movies coming out that I think will do well, so they'll be fine. Josh says, I think this will make as much as the last movie. Yeah, this is the same range as the last movie, so that's I agree with you, Josh. Oh, Martin just thinks this is a cash grab. I mean, to be honest, the only reason this movie exists is because Disney finally got the rights to it, and they want to keep the rights, so they had to make something. So that's the only reason this movie exists, literally, is to keep rights, so I guess it is a cash grab. But at least this cash grab looks good. The trailer looks good, so I'm with it. Why does the CGI look so bad? I don't think the CGI looks bad, Oscar, but I do think the CGI in the previous Planet of the Apes films do look better. Just like the motion capture looks better. But we haven't seen it. To be fair, we haven't seen the movie. Maybe the CGI wasn't finished in the trailer. It could always look better in the movie. But I do agree that the CGI and the motion capture for this movie doesn't look as good as the previous movies. That's true. Miss Olsen says it can be a big flop or a big hit. I don't see this being a big flop. I think there's enough interest in this that the minimum I can see this doing is like $350, which I think would probably make this like break even. So I don't see this being a huge flop. I actually think this movie could be a decent hit. I don't see this being a flop at all. Should I do a poll for this one? I don't know. We're almost getting to the end. Let's do a poll. Why not? Hold on. Do you think Planet of the Apes will be a flop or a hit? Or do you think it'll just barely break even? Those are the three options. Flop, hit, break even. Alright. starting the poll, so you guys should have access to the poll now. A lot of you are saying you just don't trust Disney. I mean, that is the big curveball this time around. Like, we just don't know how Disney is going to make a Planet of the Apes film, because it's always been Fox and other studios. So this is something new. This is something new. Disney's pretty been hit and miss with their quality lately, so I totally get a lot of you guys just not trusting it because Disney's making it. But I think the trailer looks so good that I have my fingers crossed. I hope Disney didn't mess this one up. I don't think they did, though. I really don't. Yeah, Oscar, I agree. Most modern movies have bad CGI. And I don't blame the visual effects artists. I don't blame the visual effects artists at all for the bad CGI that we've been getting lately. I blame the studios for rushing these movies to get made, so they're having their artists work under crunch time, which obviously is going to lead to poor quality. I blame the fact that they don't really know what they want ahead of time, so they keep having their artists change things over and over again. So I think a lot of it, I really blame the studios and the executives. I don't blame the artists for why the CGI is so bad. Because when they have the time and the space to do it, you can still get really great CGI. Like, look at Dune. I don't think the people who worked on Dune were like any better than other CGI artists. I just think that they had a director that knew what he was doing and had a vision, so he was able to communicate to them, and that's why the visual effects were really good. Going to the poll, so most of you think that Planet of the Apes will just break even, so about 52% of you. 28% of you think it'll be a hit, and 19% of you think it'll flop. So the vast majority of you think it'll just barely break even, while only 18% of you think it'll actually flop. So most of you think it'll at least break even or be a modest hit, but yeah. I don't see this movie flopping, so I have to agree with you guys. I think this movie, at the very least, is going to break even. So that's where I'm at with this film. Thank you for being, for participating in the poll, too. Okay, Closeted Opinions thinks it looks interesting, so that's good. Now, moving on to the next one. Now, what are we at? We're at number 4. So this one is another movie that is a bit of a guess, but I really think it has a chance to break out. And it's Twisters. I think Twisters has a chance at becoming a major, major hit. That's why I have it at 500 to 550 million. Because the original Twisters was a huge, massive, massive hit at the box office. Like, gigantic hit. It even spawned its own experience at Universal Studios in Orlando. It's gone now, but I remember going to it as a kid, and it was a really cool experience. They made it feel like you were watching a real Twister form in front of you, and you saw it, like, wreak havoc on this set that they had built in front of you. It was a really cool show. It wasn't a ride or anything, it was just a show. But I'm bringing that up just because I'm pointing out the fact that the original Twisters movie was really, really popular and was a huge hit at the time when it came out. In fact, the original Twisters movie made $495.7 million, and that's in 1996 money, by the way. That's in 1996 money. So with inflation, this movie probably made a lot more than that. That's $500 million in 1996 money. That's how big of a hit this movie was back in the day. So, I think there's going to be a lot of nostalgia around this movie for those who really like the original. I do remember as a kid the Twisters movie played on cable a lot, so I happened to catch this movie just on reruns watching this as a kid. So I think this movie has a wide audience of people who could potentially see this movie just because the original was so popular and played all the time on cable. And this movie has, what's his face from Top Gun in it, who is like a really big deal now. He was also on Anyone But You. What's his name? Glenn Powell. Glenn Powell's in this. So he's the main lead. He is a rising star. So that's another reason why I think this could do well. I think he has that aw shucks, all-American look about him that I think is going to play really well with the Midwest. So I think this movie is the kind of film that's not going to do just well on the coast, but I think it'll probably do really well in like Middle America too. So I think Twisters has there are a lot of reasons why I think Twisters will be a major hit as well. But what do you guys think? Do you think Twisters will be as big of a hit as I think it will be? Or do you think that I'm way over predicting this? Okay, CD Woods agrees with me. Yeah, I think Twisters will be a hit, though I'm not watching. Why are you not watching? I bring up so many movies and you guys are just like, eh. Maybe I'll see it on streaming. Josh says, I think Twisters will be a hit because of Glenn Powell as Top Gun Maverick and Anyone But You were big hits for him. Exactly. He is really big right now. He's on the rise. So I think the fact that he's in this very recognizable property that has a lot of nostalgia value, I think is just going to really raise the value of this movie, and it's going to get a lot of people to go see it. So that's why I think this movie is going to be a massive hit. I know you guys just see Prancer, sorry. I know he's very distracting. Okay, Joey's going to go see it, that's great. Okay, Madonna doesn't care. Madonna, what do you care about? I feel like you've said that about every movie. Which movie are you excited for? Closeted Opinion says, I love the original Twisters. This will be a hit too. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of people who really love the original. I think this could be a big hit. Arvin says, I mean, I love Kiernan Shipka. She was amazing in Adventures of Sabrina, and I'm watching Twisters because of her. Yeah, Kiernan Shipka is a great actress. I'm glad that she's getting more work. I think she's actually playing an adult in this one for once, so that's going to be nice to see, because I'm so used to her playing a teenager. I'm sorry if you hear a lot of noise in the background. My dog, he's doing stuff. You don't know who Glenn Powell is, Nagisa? Well, he's a new guy. If you haven't seen Top Gun, or if you haven't seen Anyone But You, you probably wouldn't know who he is, because those are pretty much his biggest movies. Oh, Arvin says it's either stream or pirate. Don't pirate it. Just stream it. Just stream it. I'm sure it won't be too long before it's on streaming. Okay, probably not a huge hit. I do think you're predicting a good number of gross. Oh, you think I'm over-predicting? I could be over-predicting. Like I said, I'm going to compare this list to the actual list at the end of the summer. We're going to see how well I did. I could be way over-predicting this. I could have way over-predicted Borderlands. But I just feel like the summer is going to be really weird, and there's going to be a lot of unexpected, really big hits and unexpected flops, just like last year. So that's why I'm kind of being a bit unpredictable with this, because I think the box office is going to be unpredictable. Oh, you want to see more of Prancer? Okay. Well, I can't really control what Prancer does. He just shows up on camera when he wants to. Anyway. So I think Twisters is going to do very well, and it seems like a majority of you guys agree. Now we're at my top three. My top three, which I actually wasn't sure how to arrange my top three. I actually did a bit of shuffling because I think they could all potentially make in the same range. So I think the top three could be very close in value. So I'm not quite sure about my top three, not confident. I think it'll be these top three movies, but I'm not confident about the order of them. So number 3, Despicable Me 4. I think the Despicable Me franchise is a very reliant franchise. It does well every time that there's a new movie that comes out. The last entry was the last Minions movie in 2022, and that made almost $1 billion. And then the last Despicable Me movie, Despicable Me 3, actually did make $1 billion. So these movies are very consistent. The reason why I don't have this movie making $1 billion is because based on what I'm reading into and looking at, I actually think this movie will be the first movie to like kind of slow the steam on this franchise a bit, and here's why. The last movie, the last Minions movie, did really well. But it actually was very heavily front-loaded. The reason it was very heavily front-loaded was because of the whole Gentle Minions meme. Do you guys remember back in like 2022 when a bunch of people were dressing up in suits to go see the new Minions movie? It was basically a trend for kids who were like little kids when the first Despicable Me movie came out, who are now like adults or teenagers. It was a trend for them to dress up in suits and go see the Minions movie. And it was such a big trend that it gave the Minions movie like a huge opening, like a massive, massive, huge opening. But it actually dropped off pretty quickly right after that. I remember because I just followed the box office really closely. And so it was a very front-loaded movie because of that massive, basically viral marketing thing that happened. Without a viral marketing trend this time around, I actually think this movie could do slightly less than what the past Despicable Me movies have been doing, just because I actually think without that Gentle Minions trend, I think the Minions movie probably would have made probably in this range. I think that trend helped that much. So that's what I'm predicting. It'll still do really well, but I think that there's been enough of these movies now, and it's quite an old franchise at this point that I think that it's not going to get to $1 billion like the others have, or even close. 700 million is still a lot of money, so I still think it's going to do well. I just don't think it's going to do as well as the previous Despicable Me movies. So that's my guess. Do you guys think I'm crazy? Do you think this will make $1 billion like all the other movies? Or do you guys agree with me that this might be the first one to do kind of less than the others? What do you guys think? Maybe I'll do a poll for this one, because this is a pretty big movie. What do you guys think? You know what? I'm going to ask, do you guys think this will make more or less than what I have on the screen? Will Despicable Me 4 make more or less? I'm going to say more, less, and then about the same. Okay. Adding the poll. Jessica H says, why does Gru need another baby? Because he's been making babies. I don't know. We're not going to judge Gru. You know, he's in a very happy relationship, I guess. Okay, Cheetah Viper says, your kids love this franchise. Kids do love this franchise. That's why I still think it's going to do very well. But I just don't know if it's going to do as well as the previous ones. I think this one will be the first that kind of does a little bit less than the usual. Okay, it's going to be close to 800 million. Kids and families love it. Yeah, I could be way under-predicting this one. You guys seem to think I'm under-predicting. Oh, thank you, Oscar. That's very nice. Prototype says, so many weird cinema phenomenons in the last few years. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of marketing companies, a lot of studios are relying on, like, viral marketing trends to market their movies. That's why there's a lot more of these phenomenons now. Even though I think the Barbenheimer one was organic. I don't think that was started by any studio. I think the Gentle Minions one, though, was definitely started by the studio. Cheetah Viper agrees, 750 million. Okay. Josh Loves Movies says, I think more because Minions The Rise of Gru nearly made $1 billion. Okay, I could be under-predicting. Cheetah Viper says tickets are more than they used to be. That's true, that's true. That baby's going to be all over TikTok. True, this could be another big viral TikTok movie. So let's see what the poll says. So 40 of you think it's going to be about the same. So you agree with me that it's going to make about this much. 32% of you think it's going to make more, so you probably think it is going to make $1 billion or close to it, which is fine. It totally could. And the 28% of you actually think less? So I'm so curious, to the 29% of you who actually think this movie is going to make even less than 600 million, why do you? Because I don't think it'll make less than that. I still think this franchise is popular enough that it'll make money no matter what. Well, why do you think it would make less? To those of you who don't think this movie will do well, why? I'm very curious. Caldonia says, how old are the kids who like this franchise? I think this franchise has adults who like it now too, because it's been going on for so long that kids who were kids when this franchise started are now adults. So I think this actually has a wide age range of people who want to go see this movie. Teddy Chan Fantastic says, wait until it comes out on Paramount Plus. Oh, so you're just going to wait for streaming. You guys always just wait for streaming. Du Bois says, your point about it being popular with kids is a good point, though. I can imagine that it might be a box office success because of that, but I don't think it'll be as well received. That's what I'm thinking. I'm just thinking, I don't know. I really feel like the last Minions movie was so heavily front-loaded because that viral trend carried it. Without that viral trend, I don't think it would have done as well. So that's why I'm really thinking that this one might be the first the first Despicable Me movie that just does okay. Still does well, but not like $1 billion well. That's my prediction anyway. Seems about 40% of you agree with me, so that's good. Ending the poll. Anyway, moving on to the next one. So number 2. The next 2, you guys probably already know what the next 2 are going to be. But I was really not sure which one I was going to put as number 1. Just because I feel like they're going to make about the same amount. So I could totally see these top 2 being reversed in the actual list. But here's what I put. So I put at number 2, I actually put Deadpool and Wolverine. I know! And I know there's a number of you who are looking at this box office that I have here, and you're like, this is way too low, Brittany. This is way too low. What are you doing? Oh, hi, Nick Just. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it. I know there's a number of you guys that are like, heck no, Brittany. This is making $1 billion. This is making well over $1 billion. What are you doing? This is your worst prediction on this list. I know there's a few of you out there. I know it. But here's why. I've already made a couple of these points, but I'm just going to reiterate a few of them now. So the last Deadpool movie made $785.8 million, and that's with the re-release, by the way. $785.8 million. Honestly, I think this movie is going to make about as much as what the last Deadpool movie made, and here's why. So, this comic book franchise, the comic book genre is hurting a lot. Just the general hype around Marvel is not what it used to be. I think the everyday normal people who don't follow comic book news I just do not feel the hype coming from like general audiences as much as I'm feeling the hype coming from comic book fans. I really feel like it's the hardcore comic book fans that are like the most hyped for this, and that's totally fair. I'm still hyped for this because I love the X-Men. I love these characters. I'm still going to go see this and review it. But at the same time, I'm just not feeling that excitement from everyday normal people, because I just feel like most people are just really over comic book news and comic book anything. And I just feel like this movie is also a lot of homework. Like, this movie requires so much homework. Like, not only do you have to watch the Deadpool movies, the Fox X-Men movies, but you also have to have seen Loki and just have like a general knowledge of the MCU. That's so much homework for the average person. And the fact that even in the trailer they throw in a bunch of Loki stuff, it's just like, I can see the average person checking out and being like, I don't know about any of this. This is too much. I have to know too much going into this movie. I'm not going to understand it. And I can see a number of people just sitting out. Also, it's rated R, so not a lot of rated R movies have made $1 billion. If this made $1 billion, that would be really noteworthy, because not a lot of billion-dollar movies, not a lot of R-rated movies make $1 billion. So, another reason is that no X-Men movie has ever made $1 billion or come close to it. Even the very famous Logan movie, which I love, a lot of people love Logan, it's a very good movie, but even the most popular Logan movie still only made about $500 million. So, just because Wolverine's in it, I don't think automatically means it's going to make $1 billion. I think if it's really good and it's well received, it could still make up to even $800 million. I would say $750 maybe is too small. Maybe I should have said up to $800. But I still think it's not going to make more than that. I still think within this range is where it's going to end up, for all of the reasons that I just said. So, what do you guys think? Do you think I'm way off? Maybe I should do another poll. In fact, I'm going to do another poll because I know this is a huge one. I know a number of you are probably like, this is blasphemy, Brittany. This is way too low. What do you think of the box office here? Hold on. Let's see. Deadpool 3. Do you think this is going to make more, less, or about the same? Start poll. Okay. And I did see a super chat from Foxy Scorpio. Thank you so much for the super chat. You guys are just giving super chats just to support. You're not even saying anything. That's so kind of you. Thank you so much. You guys are so awesome. Hidden Name agrees. Okay, Jessica H is planning on seeing this. Alright. CD Woods, yeah, I think the number's appropriate. Purple Prototype thinks the number is right as well. This is rated for adults. Hidden Name thinks it's too low. I mean, I knew someone was going to think it was too low. Okay, Vectop agrees with me. Okay. Natanya just puts question marks. That's not good. Josh says, I think Deadpool and Wolverine is going to make about the same, if not more than Deadpool 2. Yeah, about the same as Deadpool 2 would put it in like the $750 to $800 million range, which I could totally see it making as well. So yeah, you're not wrong. Hi Mauricio. Prototype says Marvel is counting on this movie to save their reputation. And I really hope it does. They need this movie to do well. They need this movie to like do super, super well. And I just think it'll do okay. And that's unfortunately not going to be enough. So let's see what you guys are saying so far. So 55% of you actually agree with me. You think it's going to be about in this range. So that's good. And then 26% of you think more. That's honestly lower than I was expecting. I expected a lot more of you to be like, no, Brittany, you're wrong. This is totally making $1 billion. That number is quite low. And then 19% of you think it's going to make even less? That number is higher than I expected. Who thinks this movie is going to make less than this? That would be a disaster. Honestly, I think this number here, 650, is like the lowest this movie could possibly make and not embarrass itself. It can't make less than this. Oh man, it'd be so embarrassing if it made less than this. I just can't see it. Unless the movie's bad. Like if the movie's not well received, then yeah, I can see it. But that would just be a disaster for Marvel if that happened. Du Bois says, I think people view Deadpool as its own trilogy first and the Marvel product second, so maybe it'll do as well as Guardians. Well, if that happens, then it'll definitely make more. So maybe. It could definitely make more. I'm not saying it won't make more, but I definitely don't think it'll make less. So that's how I view this. I think it can make more than this range, but I don't think it'll make less unless it's just really bad. Hidden Name says about the same or less. Okay. The Taylor Swift cameo, I mean, she's been in movies before. Like, she was in Cats, and Cats wasn't a big hit. So I don't think the Taylor Swift cameo alone is going to, like, make this movie an automatic hit. Oh, Arvind, you said you would love the drama of this movie flops. It would be a lot of drama. It would be very dramatic if this movie flops. I'm not gonna lie. It'd be fun to talk about here on my podcast. It'd be a very interesting conversation we'd have. So I'm ending the poll now. Seems like most of you agree with me, although 18% still think it'll do less. That's significant. I'm really curious to see those of you who think it'll do less. What do you think it'll do and why? Ending the poll now. Thank you for participating. The Blue Gecko Nerd says, Brittany, let's not forget, I can predict things too. I can't see through the future, but I know exactly what's what. You can see through the future? Well, can you give me the lottery numbers? That'd be great. Du Bois says, to clarify, I don't think it'll make as much as Guardians 3. I just think... Oh, okay. I just mean I think they're similar in that people view them as their own thing. That's true. That's very true. I think that's why I think this movie's going to do as well as it is and not less, is because people are viewing it as its own thing. People don't really see the Deadpool movies as part of the MCU because up until now they weren't. So you're right. I definitely do think people see this as like something different. So I think because of that, that's why I think it has a chance at doing at least 650. If it wasn't because of that, I think it would have done less, to be honest. But anyway, so you guys know what I think is number one now. I think it's pretty obvious what number one is. And like I said, I was going back and forth between number one and number two because I think they're likely to make around the same amount of money. But obviously, I think it's Inside Out 2. Now, this is why I put Inside Out 2 over Deadpool, and it's actually because Inside Out 1 made more than the last Deadpool, which actually surprised me. So the last Inside Out movie actually made $858.8 million. I did not know the last Inside Out movie actually made like almost $900 million. That's almost $1 billion, guys. I did not know the last Inside Out movie that made that much money. That's incredible. That's more. That's significantly more. In fact, that's like, yeah, it's, looking at it, it's actually over $100 million more than what the last Deadpool movie made. So, because of that, that's why I actually decided to put Inside Out 2 over Deadpool 3, because the last movie actually made more. And there's a lot less homework going into it. All you have to see is the first Inside Out movie. You don't have to see an entire cinematic universe. I think the last movie was super well received. It's very popular in the parks. I can attest to that. When I was working with Joy and Sadness in Epcot, those characters were super, super popular. Like, super, super popular. Everyone loved them. They always had a long line. Even well after the movie was, like, had been out, people were still lining up to see those characters. So I know that they're very popular. I know that this property is very popular. I think that this movie could do very well. Ending the last poll, because I forgot to do that. But what do you guys think? This is not about... I didn't put Wicked on this list, Danny, because we're just talking about summer movies. But Wicked is at the end of the year, so that's why Wicked is not on this list. But of course, I think Wicked is going to do very, very well. In fact, I still think it could do, like, the best of the year, so we'll see. But what do you guys think about Inside Out 2? Do you think I'm over-predicting it here? Do you think that it has the potential of doing about as much or even better? In fact, I'm predicting this movie actually technically makes less than the first Inside Out. That's why I have it in this range. Just because I think there's enough people who are just so mad at Disney that they're not going to see anything Disney right now. So I think that just the reputation of Disney as a company is going to keep some people away, which is why I think it's going to make less than the first one, but I still think it's going to do really well. What do you guys think? Do you think this movie will be the biggest hit of the summer like I do, or do you think it's going to be something else? Mythical Phoenix Heart says, I'm interested in it, so that I can hear what the Korean comic will say about it. The Korean comic? Is that a YouTuber? I'm not familiar with that one. Du Bois says, I've never actually seen the first Inside Out. What? You have to see it. My friends have been trying to get me to watch it for years. It's one of Pixar's best movies in recent years. I really do think, like, post the golden years of Pixar, I really think this is one of Pixar's best movies. Vincent Hall says, do you think this movie will have over $175 million budget? Oh yeah, for sure. I think this movie's probably going to be at least $200 million, cost at least $200 million, because that's how much Pixar movies usually cost at minimum. Okay, Hidden Name, you think it'll make less. Interesting. Joy Humble says, if it's competing with Despicable Me, it'll do less. Oh, that's true. That's a good point. I didn't even think about that. So Despicable Me 4 and Inside Out 2 are coming out around the same time, which will obviously eat into each other because they're going after the same audience. Again, I am predicting this will make less than the last Inside Out. So if it makes $700 million, that is less, significantly less than the last Inside Out, but I still think it could do very well. So I'm pretty confident in my number. I guess let me do one more poll since I didn't do a poll for this one yet. Hold on. Do you think Inside Out 2 will make more, less, or about the same as this amount that I have here? Inside Out 2. So I'm going to put more, and then I'm going to put less, and then about the same. Adding the poll. Josh says, I think animation is going to dominate this summer with the Garfield movie. Oh, that's true! Forgot about the Garfield movie. I don't know if I would still put it on this list, just because I've been feeling like no hyper interest in that movie. I don't know about that one, but we'll see. I do think animation is going to be king of the summer, though, that's for sure. At least between Despicable Me and Inside Out, I think they're definitely going to take over the summer. Du Bois says, between Disney's bad reputation and high ticket prices, I don't know if it'll be the biggest, but Inside Out seems to be too beloved, so I'll bet it'll at least have decent viewership. Yeah, this is one of those movies where I just can't see flopping. It might not make $700 million, but I still don't see it, like, flopping. I just can't see it. It's too popular. Bye, CD Woods. Vincent says, I will never understand how Disney and Pixar both make movies over $175 million. And they do it consistently, which is crazy. And they spent that money on movies that don't even, like, look like they spent that much. I will never stop pointing out the fact that they spent $150 million on the Haunted Mansion movie, because that is the biggest waste of money I've ever seen. That movie does not look like it cost $150 million. That's insane. Caldonia says, Amy Poehler signed an Avengers RDJ-esque deal for this. She said she could make up to 20% of the gross if it hits a certain number. Well, I bet she's hoping and praying it hits that number. Good for Amy Poehler. I do like Amy Poehler. She is really great as Joy. So I honestly I think she's worth the paycheck. So yeah, honestly I don't blame her for getting paid more. But are you guys surprised that I put Inside Out 2 over Deadpool? Or do you guys think that Inside Out could actually make more than Deadpool like I do? I just want to know. Do you guys think I'm crazy for ordering it this way? Like I said, the top 3 are really hard just because I think they're all probably going to make about the same. So I could totally see this list just being totally off and wrong. But this is just what I'm predicting, and these are the reasons why I'm predicting it. What do you think? Who do you think will be the king of the box office? Do you think it'll be Deadpool? Do you think it'll be Despicable Me 4? Or do you think it'll be Inside Out 2 like I do? I want to know in the chat. In fact, maybe I should do another poll. So for Inside Out 2, 50% of you think it'll do about the same, so you agree with me. 30% of you think it'll do even more. Wow, that's a lot of you too. 30%? That's like a third of you think it'll actually do more. So I guess a third of you think it'll make $1 billion? It could make $1 billion. Maybe I'm under-predicting this movie, I don't know, but that's quite a significant number of you. And then 20% of you think it'll make less, so that's also a lot. It seems like you guys are pretty split on these movies. It's not like there's any one movie where you guys think that, like, all of you think it's going to do very well. That's very interesting. But ending the poll now. Hidden Name thinks you... Okay, so you think Despicable Me will do better? Okay, could. Vettop says no, Inside Out 2 will make much more. It's better received. Okay. It could totally make more. I'm erring on the side of caution with Inside Out 2 just because the reputation for Disney is so toxic at the moment. But I really do think it'll probably hurt it at least a little bit. The Lion Dog Show says, I don't think it's too off base. It's a family film, and I don't think people are sick of the series like with Despicable Me. That's what I'm thinking, too. There's only one other Inside Out movie, whereas with the Despicable Me franchise, there's a bunch of sequels, and there's the spin-off movies. So I just think that there's less homework going into it. I have a good feeling about that movie. Nicholas Wilson, you agree it has a good chance. Do you think I'm spot on? Oh, thank you, Danny. Josh says, I'm surprised Alien and The Watchers didn't make your list. I think horror is going to be very strong this summer. You know what? Horror is my blind spot. I don't really care for horror because I don't really watch it. So I did consider those movies. The Watchers, for those of you who don't know, is the latest M. Night Shyamalan movie. And then, of course, Alien Romulus is the next Alien movie. Maybe Aliens will make the list. It almost made mine. It really did. I was going to put it at number 10 over The Fall Guy. But then I decided to go with The Fall Guy instead. So it could do well. I don't know. I still don't think it'll do super well just because I think that franchise is a bit tired. I don't know if it's going to be able to like bring in new audiences like they're looking for. I could be totally wrong about that, but I just don't have a lot of faith in that movie. And then The Watchers is in M. Night Shyamalan, who's very niche. His last movie, I think, was that beach movie, right? And a lot of people did not like Old, even though I really liked Old. I actually really liked that movie a lot. I just don't know if... His movies are not for everyone, so I don't see The Watchers making this list, unfortunately. But maybe Aliens. Alien almost made my list, but it was going to be at number 10, so I don't see it doing a whole lot. But that's where I would put it. But thank you for mentioning those movies. What do you think of my list overall, though? I'm very curious. Do you think that I'm on it with this list, or do you think that I've over-predicted a lot of movies, under-predicted a lot of movies? Is your list different than mine? What movies would you have put on this list that I didn't put on there? I want to know what you guys think. Oh, right, I forgot Knock at the Cabin. Knock at the Cabin was okay. I think that one had mixed reception. All I can think about is Old, though, because Old was a trip of a movie. Again, that's one of those... I have 2 movie-going experiences that I will never forget in my life, and 2 of them are M. Night Shyamalan movies. One of them is The Last Airbender, because I've never been more disappointed in a movie in my life. And the second one was Old. Because I was sitting there in the theater like, what is this movie? If you want to watch a movie where you cannot predict the next 5 minutes ahead of you, go watch Old. Because I could not predict or tell you anything that was going to happen in that movie. It was just crazy, balls to the wall crazy. I kind of liked it for that reason, though. But I just know that what I'm trying to say is M. Night Shyamalan movies are very hit and miss, so I don't think The Watchers is a guaranteed hit. Okay, Prototype says you think I averaged correctly. That's great. Madonna likes my predictions. Okay. Oscar thinks it's a good list. Alright. Oh, it's M. Night Shyamalan's daughter directing The Watchers? Oh, I missed that. All the marketing is about M. Night Shyamalan. I thought he was the one that directed it. They should make that clearer in the marketing, because they totally make it seem like it's his movie. Very curious. Although that makes it even more niche, though. That makes it even more niche, in my opinion. So I definitely don't think Watchers would make my list. I'd be very surprised if it did. I know I hate Jurassic World Dominion. That was another audience movie theater experience I'll never forget, but for entirely different reasons. Moana 2 is later in the year. That's not a summer film. That's why that's not on my list. I know we don't talk about the last Airbender movie. Man, that was something else. That was something else. Okay, you guys seem to agree with my list overall. Vectop says, I think your list is perfect. I would put Wicked and Joker up pretty high as well. Again, Wicked and Joker are later on in the year. I might do another stream where I talk about, like, fall and winter movies, since you guys really want to talk about those too. I was just talking about the summer movie season, so those movies wouldn't make the list because they're not coming out in the summer. But anyway, that is my list. I thought that was really fun. That was really hard to put together. I could be totally wrong about a number of those movies. To be honest, a couple of those I just guessed, but I think you can tell as I was talking that they were at least educated guesses. I was trying to put together a lot of, like, the history of what the franchise is doing, plus, like, the hype that I'm feeling for certain films. Like, I was trying to put in, I was really putting a lot of thought and effort into this, so that's why I came up with the list that I did. You guys can disagree with me on a number of them. I think a number of you guys did disagree with me for a couple of those, which is fine. But like I said, at the end of the summer, I'm going to go back to this list and we're going to compare to the actual, like, top 10 box office for the year, or for the summer. And we're going to compare how I did and see, like, was I accurate, was I on the money, or was I way off, which I totally could be. So I can't wait for that. That's going to be an entire separate stream later on in the year, so make sure you subscribe and you don't miss that. I will have another stream on Thursday. It might be late just because my job is going late, so it might be at 7 again on Thursday, so just stay tuned on Twitter. That's where I give a lot of my updates on what I do with my channel and what time I'm doing shows, so just fair warning if I might have to change the time, just check my Twitter. But thank you guys for coming to today's show. This was a lot of fun. I love talking to you guys, and I'll